Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Emily. In today's video, I wanted to talk about some books that I really want to read before the end of the year. And I did do this video last year where I spoke about 24 books I wanted to read before the end of 2024. And I did also do this for the start of the year. I did 25 books I want to read in 2025, but I really want to reevaluate that list. And I feel like some of the books I put on that list, I'm not as interested to read now. So I do have 15 books here that I really want to get to before the end of the year. I didn't want to do another 25 because it's just too many, so I decided to settle on 15. So let's just get straight into them. The first one I have is Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Myra, which is the sequel to Assistant to the Villain, which I think I read back in January. I really liked that book. I love how fun and entertaining it was, and I feel like I really loved the characters in the book, so I'm very excited to continue. I don't know why I haven't read this second book yet. I think the first book, I listened to some of it as an audiobook and really liked it as well, so I think that I'll listen to this one as an audiobook. I feel like that would be a really good choice. And I also know that there's a third book coming out as well towards the end of this year. I think in the next couple of months actually. So once I get to this one this year, maybe I'll be able to get to the third book straight away and then complete another series. Next up we have Beg, Borrow or Steal by Sarah Adams. I feel like my goal with a lot of these books is to just kind of finish series that I'm in the middle of. And although this isn't part of like a proper series, it's like a little interconnected romance series, I still think that it's a good idea to read them in order. The first two books in this series I believe are When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect. I loved When in Rome. Didn't like Practice Makes Perfect as much, but I've heard some really incredible things about this one, so I have a feeling I'm gonna love it. Also, the main character's name is also Emily, so I feel like that'll make me enjoy it even more because I can really put myself into the character's position. Even though Emily is such a common basic name, I feel like I've literally never read a book where the main character's called Emily, so I'm very excited for that. Next up we have Unloved by Peyton Corrin. This is a sequel to Unsteady, which I read at some point last year as well and really enjoyed. I remember when I read Unsteady, a lot of people said that it was like the Boys of Torment series, which it really wasn't at all. I didn't get the resemblance whatsoever, but it was about an ice skater and ice hockey player, I believe. I have no idea what this one is about, to be completely honest. I know it's following a different couple than the first book, and it says at the back of the book that Matt, the main character in this book, he has a few issues with dyslexia, ADHD and dyscalculia. I don't know how to say that word. I know what it is. I know it's to do with numbers, but I don't know how to say it. But I always love a book with good like mental health representation and conditions like this as well, so I'm very excited to read this. I have a feeling I'm really gonna love it. Caught Up by Liz Tomford. This is the third book in the Windy City series. I believe there is 5 books out and the 5th one literally just came out, but I think it's the last book in the series, so I definitely want to continue and finish this series. Maybe even finish the whole series by the end of the year, but I don't want to put that pressure on myself. I definitely want to get to this one though. This one says it's following Kai and Miller. Kai is a single dad and starting pitcher for Chicago's MLB team, and it says that Miller is a high-end pastry chef and ends up becoming the nanny for his son. I always love a good nannying trope, so I already know that I'm gonna love this, and I've heard a lot of people say that this book specifically in this series is their favorite, so I already knew I was gonna love it. I've loved the first two, so very excited to get to this one. The next one I have is Encantra by Kaylee Smith. I actually got this edition when I was in New York. It's a Barnes & Noble edition. Okay, I had to have a little intermission because this one always loves to find someone to bark at through the window whenever I start filming, but we are back. So I was talking about Encantra, which is the next book that comes after Phantasma, which I also read around January, I believe. It is like a romance book. It was kind of giving like Caraval vibes. I think she went into the game called Phantasma and there was like a bit of a romance in there as well, which was really strange. And the reason why she went into this game called Phantasma is because she was looking for her sister that she believed went into the game as well, and that's kind of like the only reason why she went. I have no idea what this book is about. I don't know if it's following the sister. I've literally got no clue. I think it might be a completely different storyline, but I did quite enjoy the first book, even though I found the romance to be a little strange and didn't really get behind it very much. I do still have high expectations for this one. Then we have Beartown by Frederick Buckman. I've never read a Frederick Buckman book before, but I do have another one on my TBR for July, which is A Man Called Ove. Definitely want to get to that one because I have a feeling that that's a good place to start with his books. I feel like that's probably his most popular, if anything, but I really want to get to this because I've heard such incredible things about this book and this series. I actually didn't even know this book was part of a series until very recently, but I feel like that makes me even more excited because if there's one thing about me, it's that I love starting series. Even though it takes me ages to always finish them, I do love starting them because I love a big world where we get very connected to the characters, and I get the feeling that that's exactly what this book is going to give me. Honestly, honestly, I have no idea what it's about. It's even one of those books where you read the back and it doesn't really give you that much information either. But that honestly makes me all the more excited because I love going into a book with no expectations because I feel like they're the ones that I end up loving the most. Then we have Lost and Lassered by Lila Sage. This is the third book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I believe there is 4 altogether, so I'm finally getting towards finishing it. I definitely do want to read both Lost and Lassered and Wild and Wrangled, which is the newest release in the series, before the end of the year, but again, I just don't want to put that pressure on myself and actually add them to this list. But it's definitely at the back of my mind that I do want to finish this series. I'm not gonna lie, the first 2 books in this series I have been a little bit disappointed by. I feel like the first one, for me personally, it was just way too spicy and there was not much of a plot. And then the second book, kind of a similar issue, but I also just really didn't like the characters, so that kind of made it worse for me. But I have spoken about that in a video before, and a lot of people have told me that the 3rd and 4th books are the best in the series and to just kind of like wait for them. So I'm very excited to read the 3rd one because I do get the feeling that they're going to get a lot better, especially because I believe this was a debut author, so obviously her writing's going to get better in every single book. This one is following Teddy and Gus, and it says that she is his little sister's best friend, who I do remember her from the other books and I do really like her character. I'm very excited to see their little romance and see what happens. Then we have Railia by Lynette Noni. I recently read Akane and absolutely loved it. I can't remember now if I read it in June or if I've read it this month, so I don't know if I've completely talked about it yet, but I loved the schooling aspect of it. It very much gave me Harry Potter vibes and like the whole magical aspect of it as well. I actually did speak about it in a video and say that it kind of reminded me of Harry Potter a little too much. Like some things felt like they were just plucked out and completely copied, but it's also got a completely different storyline and plot, and I'm very excited to see where Lynette Noni takes this series. Obviously the Akane series is a very long series as well. I believe there's like 7 books in this series. One might be a novella, but it's a very big series and I feel like I need to really get in the thick of it and see what's really going to happen. I've also had a lot of people tell me since finishing Akane that they want me to read this because I'm assuming something really big is going to happen in this book just based on the fact that everyone wants me to read it. So I'm very excited to get to this and hopefully a few more books in this series towards the end of the year, but this is the one that I'm up to currently. I honestly just get the feeling that every single book I read in this series, I'm going to start loving them more and more every time because I already love the characters from the first book, and I just feel like as they get older, like in Harry Potter, it gets more enjoyable as well because the characters become older and more relatable, and I'm very excited to see that with this series. Next up we have The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. This is just a romance book that's been on my TBR for a few months that I've been really wanting to get to, mainly because I've never read a book from Jessica Joyce before and I've heard incredible things about this book in particular. I feel like this one I'm honestly going to save for like the warmer weather in like spring, summertime towards the end of the year because it's just giving me that sort of vibe. I believe this is a second chance romance. It says it's following Georgia and Eli, who broke up 5 years ago, and then they're thrown together again at their best friend's wedding. Honestly, I always love a book like that because it's always got that like forced proximity aspect where they don't know how to act around each other, but they've got that previous love, and I'm excited to see how these 2 characters go through that. Second chance romance is definitely not usually my cup of tea. It's actually not something I like very often, but I'm still very excited for this one. I'm excited to see what I think of this book and her writing as well. The next book I have is Vengeful by V. Schwab. I'm actually currently reading Vicious as I'm filming this video and I'm loving it so far. I feel like the whole world and the idea of this world is so intriguing, so I get the feeling that I'm going to want to go into this one very, very soon after. I don't really want to read the back of the book because obviously I'm in the middle of the first book still. I don't know how it's going to end. I don't really know what's going to happen with the characters, and so even just glancing at the back, I know there's going to be a lot of new characters in this book, and I obviously do not want to spoil it for myself, so we'll have to wait and see. But this one is also a lot thicker than the first book. This one is like almost 600 pages. I believe the first one is just over 300, so it's definitely quite a lot thicker. In Vicious, the book that I'm currently reading, it's following 2 college roommates. It's actually like 2 different timelines, so it's 10 years ago and then a current time, and the 2 college roommates, Victor and Eli, are doing all of these like experiments to see if people can adapt these superhuman abilities. They're researching it, they're doing all these crazy tests on each other, and then there's like a current timeline which is where they're not friends anymore, hence why I don't want to spoil it for myself because I still don't know know why, but I definitely want to get to this because I am loving V.E. Schwab's writing just from this first book that I'm reading. The next one I have is Forget Me Not by Julie Soter. This is a similar thing to the X-Files, where I really want to read a book from Julie Soter before because I've never read one from her before. Honestly, I have no idea what this book is about either, so I'm going to read the back of the book a little bit. Alma Torres is a great wedding planner, but she does not believe in happy ever afters. When Alma lands a job of her dreams, a headline-grabbing wedding for a glamorous influencer and her fiance, it's her biggest job yet. But the florist is none other than Elliot Bloom, Alma's ex, the man whose heart she broke 2 years ago, the man she hasn't spoken to since. Can they get through the wedding without killing or kissing each other? This literally sounds exactly like the X-Files. It's another second chance romance where they have to be at a wedding together. So again, I'm not one to love a second chance romance a lot of the time, but I feel like these authors and these books may change my mind on that, so I'm very excited to see. The next one I have is Scythe and Sparrow by Bryn Weaver, which is the third book in the Little Butcher and Blackbird series. Obviously this is also like an interconnected romance series, so each book is following different couples, but we kind of see little glimpses of the couples from the previous books as well. And this is the most current release in this series. I don't know if it's like the last release or if there's going to be more, but this book only came out a couple of months ago, so I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I definitely want to. Honestly, I've read a few dark romances recently, not like crazy dark romances. I read Lights Out and Caught Up by Nevessa Allen literally last week and loved both of them, and this gives like a very similar vibe to those books as well. So I'm definitely in my sort of dark romance era at the moment. I've been loving books like this because I just feel like they're so entertaining. This one is following Finn Kane, who is running from a broken heart, and then he ends up finding this circus called the Silveria Circus, and there is a performer at the circus called Rose Evans who has spent a decade working with this circus, and she does a little bit of murder on the side, as they do with all of these books. That's kind of like the general idea of every book in this series. They're like murderers and serial killers that fall in love with each other, so I'm definitely very excited to see what happens in this book. We have 3 books to go. The next one is The Women by Kristen Hanna. I love Kristen Hanna's writing from the one book I've read from her, which was The Nightingale, and I've been wanting to read this book for such a long time. It was actually on my June TBR, and then I didn't get around to reading it, and also really wasn't in the right mindset for it. Still not really in the right mindset for it at the moment because I know it's going to be very emotional and I have to be in a very specific mood for a book like that. But she kind of writes a lot of books surrounding like previous world wars, and it's always very strong female characters as well, which I always love. Based on what I've heard about this one in particular, I think that it is a nurse in the Vietnam War, and that's all I really know about this book, to be honest. It's one of those books that I would rather go into blind because I feel like there's going to be so much that happens and I'd rather find that out for myself. But I do think this is going to be a very beautiful story. This is definitely like a 5 or 6 star prediction for me. I have a feeling this book is going to change my brain chemistry. The next book I have is called Unraveled by Isabel McDowell. I had this one sent to me recently as an ARC, and I'm very, very excited for it because look how gorgeous the cover of this looks. Like, it just automatically intrigued me. It's giving like that magical fairy tale sort of vibe. I honestly don't really have much of an idea of what this is about either. I've only heard like a couple of like the tropes and stuff, and they automatically intrigued me. But I'm going to read a bit of the back. It says, Mira Solwyn defied tradition when she bound herself to Tharian in secret. As punishment, the queens severed their bond and stripped away their memories, leaving only behind faint traces of a love once fierce and undeniable. Now, 6 months after the queen's death, the kingdom stands on the brink of rebellion. Mira is surrounded by nobles who speak in whispers and wield secrets like blades. As fragments of her past begin to surface and ancient powers stir beneath the court's polished veneer, she must decide, will she fight for a love the world tried to erase or let it fade into silence? That honestly doesn't really tell me much about what's going to happen in this, but that makes me all the more excited because there's nothing I hate more than a book that literally tells you every single plot point of the book and then you go into it and sort of know everything. So I feel like with this one, all I need to know is that there's a rebellion, and that honestly makes me excited to read it because I always love a fantasy book like that. And this is another one I'm predicting I'm going to rate very highly as well. And the last book I have is another one that I did get sent to me. This is an ARC. I believe it's coming out this month, and that is called Fateless. It says June meets Shadow and Bone in the first book in this new epic YA fantasy trilogy from New York Times bestselling author Julie Kagawa. I've actually never heard of this author before. I don't know if I'm living under a rock, but I'm very excited if she's like a best-selling author as well. I'm not going to read the whole blurb, but the top sentence automatically makes this sound really interesting, hence why I really want to get to this very soon. It says, the hourglass of time waits for no one. Not even the deathless kings can turn back the sands once they have fallen. I'm honestly so intrigued on what's going to happen in this. I always love a YA fantasy as well because they're very easy to read and get into, and I cannot wait to see what I think of this. But yeah, that was the last book that I'm hoping to read before the end of the year. I feel like I've got so many books that I'm so excited about, and these are like my priority books, so I feel like I'm definitely going to get to most of these. But as a mood reader, my opinion and mood definitely changes, so I'm definitely not going to get to all of them, but we'll see how many I can get to by the end of the year. As I said, I did also make this video at the start of the year with like 25 books I wanted to read before the end of the year, but I feel like a lot of those books I have changed my mind on, and I've reflected on that list, and a few of them I just don't think I'm going to get to. Anyway, I really hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like and comment the butterfly emoji if you got to this point in the video. But with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you all in my next one.